Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever noticed how sometimes we act completely against our own best interests? Or how societies, despite all their advancements, seem to struggle with the same old conflicts over and over again? Today, we're diving deep into something truly fundamental to being human: egotism. And let's be clear from the start, this isn't just about, arrogance or vanity.
Exactly. When you really look at human egotism, it's far more than just a character flaw you see on the surface.
Right.
It's an incredibly complex, adaptable, and sometimes even, counterproductive part of how we think and behave. It's a core drive for self-preservation and self-enhancement, refined by evolution and shaped by every culture and individual experience. Our mission in this deep dive is to deconstruct what you could almost call this built-in feature of the human operating system.
Huh. The human operating system. I like that.
Yeah. We'll trace its origins, understand its biological roots, see how it plays out in our minds, and then explore its profound influence on everything, from our social structures to our ethical considerations. We're going to look at both its constructive and destructive sides, aiming to give you a clearer understanding that's genuinely essential for navigating our world.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because this isn't just theory we're talking about. It shows up in how we think every single day. For instance, have you ever caught yourself taking all the credit when something goes right, but then quickly blaming traffic or, I don't know, a clumsy coworker when things go wrong?
Oh, absolutely. That's a perfect example, a classic example of what researchers call a self-serving bias.
Self-serving bias. Okay.
It's a predictable error in judgment, kind of a mental shortcut our brains take to protect our ego,
Yeah.
maintain a positive self-image. It's one of many cognitive biases, these systematic ways our thinking can go awry, that are deeply woven into how we process information, perceive the world, and make decisions.
So it's not just a quirk then, it's fundamental to how we operate, like really baked in.
Precisely. These systematic patterns of thought suggest that egotism isn't just something we learn, it's fundamental to how humans construct their reality. It influences not only individual actions, but also our collective behaviors, the norms we establish in society, and the very rules our civilizations create. Grasping this is key to understanding just how pervasive it is in, pretty much every aspect of human life.
That leads me to wonder, if it's so fundamental, where did it even come from? To truly understand it, we have to look back, right, deep into history.
Well, yeah. History shows us that egotism has been an incredibly powerful force, quite literally shaping the rise and fall of civilizations. Think about early human groups. A degree of self-interest was absolutely essential for individual survival and reproduction.
Makes sense. Look out for number one.
Exactly. You had to look out for yourself, for your immediate family. And then at the group level, we see collective egotism, that strong preference for your own in-group ethnocentrism, basically.
Us versus them.
Right. This was crucial for tribal cohesion and survival. It strongly suggests that egotism is a trait that has been conserved or maintained through evolution because it provided an advantage. As societies grew from small tribes to vast, complex empires, this drive continued to manifest in desires for, wealth, power, social status, and the dominance of one's own ideas or ideology.
What's fascinating here, though, is that it's not just historical. You're saying it's literally wired into our biology. It's in our brains.
It truly is. Egotism is deeply connected to specific brain structures and the chemistry of our brains.
Mm-hmm.
For example, when yourself or your group feels threatened, the amygdala, people often call it the brain's alarm bell.
Mm-hmm.
It can trigger defensive responses like fear or aggression. On the other hand, the prefrontal cortex, which handles planning, decision-making, social understanding, that plays a vital role.
How so?
It helps us manage those impulsive, self-serving actions and, importantly, consider others. Even neurochemicals like dopamine, which we link to pleasure and reward, drive us to pursue outcomes that gratify our ego. And here's a surprising twist. Oxytocin. We usually think of it for bonding, right?
Yeah, the love hormone or whatever.
Right. But it can actually contribute to forms of collective egotism by strengthening bonds within a group.
Ah, but maybe at the expense of outsiders.
Exactly. Sometimes fostering exclusion or even hostility towards outgroups. The good news, though, is our brains are incredibly adaptable. This is neuroplasticity.
Right, okay.
Which means while egotism is universal, it's also a system that can be modified by things like education, social conditioning. That helps explain why it varies so much from person to person, culture to culture.
This raises a really important question for me. If it's so deeply wired, how does it then shape our understanding of right and wrong, or even the very structures of our societies?
Well, you can think of egotism as a powerful filter. It's like we process all information through it.
Filter.
Yeah. It's constantly working, often subconsciously, to prioritize a positive self-image and ensure consistency with what we already believe. This means it can subtly distort objective reality to fit our egocentric narrative, the story we tell ourselves about ourselves.
So it bends reality to fit the ego.
In a way, yes. And this even extends to moral judgments. What we perceive as right or wrong can be heavily influenced by how it impacts our own ego, or the ego of our group. This ego filter significantly contributes to misunderstandings, persistent conflicts, and why we so often resist evidence or perspectives that challenge our self-concept or our group's identity.
That makes a lot of sense when you put it like that.
And when we look at how entire systems operate, especially in areas like economics or politics, principles from game theory really shine a light on this. Concepts like the prisoner's dilemma or the tragedy of the commons. Maybe you've heard of those.
Yeah, vaguely. Refresh my memory.
Sure, they mathematically show how if everyone makes choices that are individually rational and self-interested.
What seems best for me right now?
Exactly. The collective outcome can actually be worse for everyone involved. It can be irrational for the group. The core insight here is that unchecked individual egotism can drive a system towards a state that simply isn't beneficial for the greater good. This helps us understand why we constantly need to create and update rules, whether they're formal laws or informal social norms.
To stop us from messing it up for everyone.
Pretty much. To address systemic instability caused by egotism. Think about, say, unchecked corporate profit maximization leading to environmental damage.
Right, or political gridlock from pure self-interest.
Precisely. Political egotism causing seemingly endless zero-sum conflicts between nations or parties. Furthermore, egotism is profoundly intertwined with our human belief systems: religious, political, cultural, ideological.
How do they interact?
Well, these belief systems can powerfully amplify egotistical tendencies, sometimes through narratives of being chosen or somehow superior.
We're the best.
That kind of thing. But on the flip side, they can also offer incredibly powerful frameworks for transcending egotism through concepts like humility, compassion, service. This directly impacts how countries, neighbors, families, even everyday people relate to each other. When collective egotism gets magnified by belief systems, you often see increased aggression, prejudice, really intense conflict. It helps explain, for instance, why groups sometimes act to undermine or even attempt to eliminate other cultures when their collective ego feels threatened or seeks to expand its influence.
Wow. Okay, so we've talked origins, biology, how it shapes our thinking and our systems. What does all this mean for us, in our daily lives and on the world stage?
Well, it's crucial to remember egotism isn't just on or off. It operates on a spectrum.
A spectrum, okay.
A healthy sense of self-worth and ambition, for example, that could be a powerful engine, can drive individual achievement, innovation, resilience. We need some of that.
Sure, you need drive.
But when that same drive goes unchecked, when it crosses a line, it can manifest as arrogance, narcissism, exploitation, a profound disregard for others. And that leads directly to conflict and social alienation. At the community level, collective egotism can certainly foster strong in-group cohesion and loyalty. That can be positive.
Team spirit, patriotism.
Right. But it also significantly contributes to xenophobia, discrimination, and destructive intergroup conflicts. So the objective isn't to somehow eliminate egotism. That's probably impossible and maybe not even desirable. You need some drive.
Right, you'd lose the good parts too.
Exactly. It's more about understanding this continuum. We need to identify that crucial threshold where it shifts from being constructive to destructive. This understanding is absolutely crucial for guiding individual development, how we raise kids, for instance, cultivating what the research calls a healthy, educated, and good child, and also for shaping our societal structures.
Okay, so we connect this to the bigger picture. How does egotism shape the very rules our societies live by, and even, say, who we pick to lead us?
Well, human rules are formal laws, social norms, traditions, ethical codes. They are society's fundamental response to that inherent tension between individual self-interest and the collective good.
Trying to balance things out.
Exactly. They're designed to mitigate the detrimental consequences of unchecked egotism and ensure cooperation, ensure society functions. But here's the kicker. These rules are created by humans.
Who are subject to egotism themselves.
Precisely. And those cognitive biases we discussed. So rules can end up being unnecessary, flawed, or biased. They can often reflect the egotistical interests of the powerful people or groups who created them. This necessitates a continuous process of revision, adding new rules, removing unnecessary rules, improving existing ones. trying to address the evolving ways egotism manifests.
It's a constant adjustment.
It has to be.
Hmm.
And egotism is also a potent motivator for individuals who seek leadership positions and accumulate wealth. No surprise there.
Ambition, drive.
Right. While ambition in a leader, when channeled ethically, can drive transformative progress and collective benefit, unchecked or pathological egotism, well, that leads to corruption, authoritarianism, systemic inequality, exploitation. Consequently, wealth distribution often starkly reflects the success of individuals or groups in leveraging their self-interest, sometimes at others' expense. Understanding this dynamic is critical for designing governance systems with robust checks and balances, fostering ethical leadership, and informing, as the study puts it, the proper human culture to elect a leader in important positions in their government.
How do we even create that proper culture?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? We'll touch on that. And we also see collective egotism, often called ethnocentrism or nationalism, as a primary driver of intercultural conflicts and pervasive xenophobia.
The use versus them again, but bigger.
Much bigger. It's why one culture might seek dominance or even what some call cultural elimination of others, when a collective ego feels threatened or seeks expansion. This dynamic really reveals collective egotism as a core psychological root of intergroup conflict and, tragically, cultural annihilation.
That's heavy stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
And finally, when we look at ethics, egotism presents fundamental dilemmas. Most established ethical systems advocate for principles like fairness, justice, compassion, things that require individuals to transcend immediate self-interest.
Do the right thing, even if it's hard or doesn't benefit you directly.
Exactly. Egotism, by its very nature, prioritizes the self. So there's this fundamental, often subconscious conflict. Knowing what is conceptually right often clashes directly with what serves one's immediate ego. This persistent gap between intellectually understanding what's right and consistently doing what's right is often bridged or maybe widened by the powerful influence of egotism. It helps explain societal struggles with issues like corruption, inequality, environmental destruction, even when there's widespread ethical understanding that these things are wrong.
It sounds like egotism is truly everywhere then. And while it can drive us, it also has this incredibly destructive potential. You mentioned earlier, can it also be leveraged or even manipulated by external forces?
Absolutely, and this is a crucial point, especially today. Leaders, political actors, marketers, they're often incredibly adept at exploiting human egotism.
How do they do that?
By appealing to our fundamental desires for status, power, validation, belonging, making you feel special, important, part of the in crowd. This manipulation often involves things like flattery, creating compelling us versus them narratives.
Making the other seem threatening or inferior.
Exactly. Promising exclusive benefits and strategically leveraging those inherent cognitive biases we mentioned, like confirmation bias,
Right.
making you see only what supports your group's view, or the self-serving bias. This exploitation creates a significant vulnerability.
Yeah.
It makes egotism a fundamental vulnerability point for societal control, for manipulation.
Wow, so understanding it helps us defend against that?
That's the hope. The profound purpose of studying these mechanisms is precisely to expose them, empowering you, the listener, to recognize and resist such tactics. It's about safeguarding our ability to make informed decisions, safeguarding democratic integrity, really. This highlights the critical importance of education in critical thinking and media literacy for absolutely everyone.
We need the tools to see through it.
We do. And when egotism is systematically manipulated or just allowed to run unchecked within societal structures, it invariably creates clear divisions. You'll find distinct beneficiaries, individuals or groups who accrue disproportionate power, wealth, or status. And conversely, there are victims, those who are exploited, marginalized, oppressed, or suffer direct harm. And then there are often the losers, those who are systematically denied opportunities or whose well-being is sacrificed for the gain of others. This dynamic is a fundamental driver of systemic inequality and social unrest.
You can really see that playing out.
You can.
Yeah.
It plays out across every level. Think about it. At the individual level, healthy self-esteem is crucial for mental well-being, right?
Mm-hmm.
But unchecked narcissism can lead to chronic anxiety, broken relationships, even destructive behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
In our interpersonal relationships, mutual respect is the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But unchecked envy or competition, it can cause immense stress, break bonds. Within communities, collective egotism might lead to investing in public education because it benefits our children. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
But taken to an extreme, it can also lead to censorship, propaganda, trying to control narratives to keep our group feeling superior.
Right, shutting down opposing views.
Exactly. And globally.
Yeah.
We might see international cooperation on health crises, which is wonderful. But how often do we also see wealthy nations hoarding medical resources, even when others are suffering immensely?
Yeah, that's definitely happened.
That's egotism playing out on the world stage, even with the environment. Collective action for protection is crucial, we know this. But so much industrial pollution is driven by short-term profit motives and this underlying sense of human dominion over nature, a kind of species-level egotism.
So, okay, this is clearly a pervasive force. It influences everything from our personal lives to global politics, even the health of our planet. What can we do? I mean, with this deep understanding, how do we even begin to build a better future, knowing this about ourselves? It seems daunting.
It is daunting, but not impossible. Cultivating a more balanced future, one that truly works for everyone, absolutely requires a multifaceted approach. It's not just one thing.
Okay, like what?
First, when we talk about fostering healthy individual development, that good child scenario, the research mentions this really starts with early childhood education. We need to emphasize emotional intelligence, critical thinking, media literacy right from the start.
Building those defenses early.
Exactly. Helping individuals identify and challenge their own biases, their own ego-driven reactions, and also resist external manipulation. Cultivating a growth mindset where you value learning from mistakes, see challenges as opportunities, that's also key. Not being afraid to be wrong.
Okay, individual development. What else?
Second, designing resilient societies. This necessitates robust educational systems that foster a collective understanding of human nature, including egotism. We need to teach history honestly, including the consequences of letting egotism run rampant. Ethical frameworks emphasizing concepts like distributive justice, fairness, universal human rights, these need to be deeply integrated into all societal levels, not just talked about. Essentially, society's rules need to be continuously optimized, like we said, to channel individual and collective drives toward outcomes that benefit everyone, not just a select few, positive sum outcomes.
Making the rules work for the greater good.
Yes. Third, and this is huge, egotism's impact on environmental stewardship demands a fundamental shift. We need to move away from what's called anthropocentric egotism.
Meaning human-centered.
Yeah, the idea that humans have absolute dominion over nature, that it's just there for us to use. We need to move towards an ecological consciousness that recognizes our deep interdependence with all life.
Seeing ourselves as part of the system, not above it.
Precisely. This means expanding our ethics to include environmental considerations in a serious way. Redesigning our economic and political systems to truly account for environmental costs, not treat them as externalities. It's about transforming what have been destructive forces into catalysts for planetary stewardship.
A huge shift in perspective.
A necessary one. And finally, creating the ideal culture for electing leaders. This goes back to your earlier question. It means prioritizing competence, integrity, empathy, and a genuine commitment to collective well-being over just, say, charisma or appeals to tribalism.
Substance over style.
Ideally, yes. It means fostering critical thinking and media literacy in the populace, emphasizing evidence-based decision-making, accountability, transparency. In such a culture, leaders would be selected for their ethical governance, their willingness to admit mistakes, a sign of ego control, actually, and a long-term vision for societal and planetary health.
That sounds aspirational, but necessary.
Very much so.
So let's try to wrap this up for the listener. What does all this really mean? This deep dive seems to have revealed that human egotism isn't just some personal failing, like being vain. It's fundamental, it's pervasive, it's multifaceted, it's deeply rooted in our biology, our mind, our societies. It's this inherent cognitive architecture that shapes, well, almost everything.
Exactly. And this deep dive, this study, it isn't meant as a condemnation. It's not about saying humans are inherently bad. It's really intended as a catalyst for deeper understanding.
A tool, not a judgment.
Precisely. It's about moving beyond simplistic moral judgments, good, bad, and instead thinking about strategic management. How do we work with this fundamental aspect of ourselves? By harnessing egotism's adaptive potential, the drive, the ambition, while rigorously, consciously mitigating its destructive manifestations, we can genuinely pave the way for a healthier, more educated, and better future for all. A future characterized, hopefully, by more peace, more prosperity, and a harmonious relationship with the natural world.
And that leads us to a final provocative thought for you, our listener. If egotism is truly fundamental to our human operating system, as we've discussed, And if we now understand its mechanics, its triggers, its vulnerabilities much better, what extraordinary new rules might we consciously design, not just reactively, but proactively? In our homes, in our communities, for our planet Earth. Rules designed specifically to foster that healthy, educated, and good future, where our self-interest actually aligns with the greater good. Something to think about.
This is DigitView.